everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. This is a meeting place that encourages photographers from all over the country to connect, inspire, and create. My guests share tips, techniques, and the stories behind their photographs. The schedule for upcoming presentations is on my website at lindanickell.com. And if you haven't subscribed to the Happiness Hour YouTube channel, please check it out for sessions that you may have missed. Tonight's guest is Christine Dewey. Christine is a nature photographer whose website is full of dreamy macros, soft focus florals, and a series of beautiful and tranquil landscapes. Her inspiration comes from nature, and Christine spends as much time outdoors as possible. In tonight's presentation, a closer look, finding beauty and joy in the world around you. Christine will share some of her favorite abstract, black and white, and ICM photographs. She'll touch on a technique called reverse freelensing and the joy she gets from using her Lensbabies. If you're on Instagram, you can find her at Forest Floor Photography _. And you can connect with her through her website, christine-dewey.pixels.com. And I will link all of those in the show notes. So with that, welcome to the Happiness Hour, Chris.
Thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to be here. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to see family, friends here, people I've met through Instagram too, and all of the wonderful participants in your happiness hour. This is such a wonderful place for people to come and learn. And I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to have you. So I'm going to do some disclosure and I'm going to do a little plug for our friends. I met Christine, and I go from Christine to Chris, and I get confused. But
both work.
I know you said both work, and I've been calling you Chris in my mind. So Christine is like, whoa, very formal. So I attend the Out of Chicago Photography Live Conference, and they've been doing it every year since 2020. And the second year they did it, they started something called the Attendee Takeover. And the first year, I believe it was 6 or 7 people. They give them, oh, now
7 minutes.
7 minutes, right? 7
Yeah.
minutes to do a presentation. And the room is just packed full of not just our peers, but the people that we're learning from, these experts, these world-renowned, world-class photographers that are, they're not just great photographers, but they're great teachers and instructors. But then you get the people doing these takeover sessions, and I'm like, yeah, they only gave her 7 minutes, And so I have just gone in and I pluck and go, do you want to come do this? And last year when Chris did hers, I'm like, oh, I'm so asking her. and I didn't know you. And I always expect someone to say thank you, but no thank you. And I'm always tickled when they say, yeah, me. And I'm like, what do you mean you? Yes, of course you. So, and then I realized, then I made the connection of who you were on Instagram. And I'm like, I did not know Forest Floor Photography was you, because I follow you through another Instagram page that I run.
Yes.
And so I have always wondered, and I'm just going to ask you, and I could ask you off camera, but I would like to know where you came up with your Instagram account, because I'm always curious about stuff like that. And I'm
Oh,
sure,
with the name?
yeah,
It was years ago, decades ago, and we were walking through the woods, and I was trying to notice things even then, that were on the forest floor. And at that time, I even thought, oh, forest floor photography, that is a nice ring. I think it was in my 20s.
oh,
And when I first started this, though, one of my sons said, are you sure you want to keep that name? And in a way, he's right. There's another forest floor photographer who does beautiful work, a lot of mushrooms and things. And it should be just my name, but it's not. It's forest floor photography. So It's still me.
I think it's beautiful, and it always made me curious. It just makes me curious of how people
Yes.
with their signature. So, all right, there are a lot of people in this room that are going to cheer you on, and they're ready for me to hush it and let you have the screen. So I'm going to let you do your thing.
All right. Okay, let me try this. Um, well, again, hello, everyone. I'm just thrilled to be here. Tonight, what I'm going to talk about is, as Linda said, my title is A Closer Look, Finding Beauty and Joy in the World Around You. So, finding joy, I know that is a pretty tall order. And I'm going to try to do my best to help you to find joy. Whether you like to take photographs or not, it's something, of course, that we all want to find in our lives. We've all heard this, don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff as a guide for navigating life. And I find that the small things, the little details, that's where the joy, of course, lies too. In the last few years, I found that focusing on the small details, especially the small stuff, with my photography and in everyday life is what brings me joy. Whether it's that first sip of coffee in the morning or a smile you get from a stranger or give to a stranger, those are the things that make up your life. It's the small details that make up our days, and those small things are what adds up to hopefully a life full of wonderful memories. So, um, as we said, I live in Illinois. I'm right outside of Chicago, and being a nature photographer, you see all these beautiful photos. But here in Illinois, pretty flat, prairie state, no mountains, no deserts, no oceans. We do have a wonderful system of forest preserves that I can get to in 20 minutes and feel I'm out in nature and see birds and coyotes lately and deer if we're lucky to. Also, I'm not complaining too much about not having oceans. We have, of course, the beautiful, powerful Lake Michigan nearby. We also have four distinct seasons, which are beautiful. That being said, tonight, though, I'm not going to focus on the beauty of fall or the abundance of flowers in the summertime. I'm going to talk more about what do you do as a photographer and as someone, just a person trying to find joy and beauty when it's not the fall, when it's not the summer. So that's my goal tonight for us. So, my journey that I'm going to talk about tonight began really in 2020, and I don't need to remind anybody what was going on at that time. Of course, like many of you, I found myself with a lot more time on my hands and outside more with my camera in my hands. Also, spent a lot more time on social media, but that's where I met a wonderful community of photographers and people who've become friends, and there's people here tonight from my Instagram friends, and I just appreciate you being here so very much. One of the things I noticed on Instagram is people talking about doing something called a 365, a 365 project. And I thought, I need to find out more about that. So, Linda, just for a minute, if anyone wants to put in the chat, if you're familiar with a 365 project or if you've tried one, tried and succeeded or didn't, and there's no shame in not being able to follow through with it. It's quite a project. So if anybody has any comments about that now, before I explain it more.
We have slow typers in this room.
And that's okay.
So, if you guys want to go ahead and there we go. Darlene, she did that a few years ago, took a couple of off, but she's back at it. Good for you, Darlene. Kathy Alice. Oh my God, Kathy Alice. It took me 397 to do a 365 project. So that's hilarious. Sharon Houston says, "Yes, I've done one. Wonderful way to learn more." Okay, so it's a familiar topic. Oh wait,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you
Oh,
this one, Chris. This is from Gail. You inspired my husband to do one the year after you, and it was God sent. Thank you for the inspiration. Oh, that was really nice.
oh,
So
good. And thank you, Gail. I'm glad you're here too. Okay.
it
Um,
was, yeah, it's a popular thing. I have never done one because I can't commit to anything. Bridget saying, I tried a photo 365 years ago, but fell off around day 45. Yay, Bridget, you sit next to me. This was before IG and it was very popular. So it was harder to track the photos. So,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
all right.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. So, a 365 project for me, it served as a reminder to stop, get outside with my camera in hand and look for beauty. And yes, find joy, which is so often where I can find joy in every day, in a busy day. So, what is a 365 sorry, project? It's taking, this is how I did it, taking, editing, and posting a photo a day. No pressure, right? um, there's alternatives though. You can post a photo a day, take the photos at different times, or take a photo a day, post it when you can, when you do have time. Why would you do this? Trust me, I asked myself that a lot during that year. Why am I doing this? It's getting dark. I didn't take my picture yet. But there really are so many reasons to do it. You're documenting a year in your life. That's a pretty cool thing. Um, you become more familiar with your camera and lenses. You can't help but become more familiar with them. And you hopefully improve your photography, which was one of my goals too. So, how do you do it? Well, I began on a lot of people begin on January 1st, and I realize it's the 17th, so that's not very helpful right now, but you can begin at any time, or you can start small, start with a 30-day project. I was reading articles, a couple of things about this while preparing my presentation, and I had never thought of this before. Begin on your birthday to document a year in your own life. To keep it fresh, to keep yourself motivated, you can have monthly themes or try different techniques, maybe different places, or alternately focus on the same place and how it changes throughout the year. The big thing to remember is try not to stress. It's your project, make your own rules, allow yourself grace, and above all, have fun. Now, tonight, whether or not you choose to attempt a 365 project or are thinking about it, or if you're not even not a photographer, what I still hope to do tonight is inspire you to find beauty wherever you live in every season. And yes, I'm coming back to that joy too. So for me, my project began on January 1st, 2021. I live in the Chicago area and we are blessed, cursed with usually a lot of snow in the winter. I do find it beautiful. Before I tried the 365 project as a photographer and even most people during November through November almost to March, especially here, it's I thought of it as a dead time where I would whine, there's nothing to photograph. If I didn't see snow or red berries or an animal or something, I would say, oh no, there's nothing to photograph. Well, I began in January and luckily we did have snow. This is just a black spruce tree in my backyard. It gets photographed often because one of the things during 2021 and my 365 is, of course, we were staying close to home. So we had just had a big snowstorm and I'm so happy when it snows. And here's what makes me happy too when it's in the winter, red berries. This is a sumac and snow. This is from the Morton Arboretum and a lovely outing with our camera club. And I know I have some friends here tonight from there too. And also, of course, if you can photograph any kind of animals, or especially birds, that just can bring you so much joy. This is an American tree sparrow, and they're pretty abundant in the winter here, and I just think they're adorable. So, but what do you do after the snow goes? And we won't have things starting to grow until April, end of March. It's brown, and things are dead. And that's when, though, that you can find some lovely dead crap. Now, I didn't make that up. That's actually a hashtag on Instagram. And a friend of mine, Barbara from our camera club, called it past their prime instead. Doesn't that sound better? But This first image I'm showing you, it's a cosmos in my backyard. And obviously it's past its prime. The color's gone. The petals are starting to curve and curl. And I took this in 2020, and it's one of the first images I took of lovely dead crap that I was like, wow, there is really beauty there to be found if I only stop and look more closely. There's something I would just normally walk by. This is there's a park near our home where I walk the dog quite frequently, and yes, I bring my camera. And this is dogvane that grows there. And it's this unassuming plant, and it has, I just love the lines of the plant, and of course this bit of little fluff. I know there's a scientific term for it, but that's attached to the seed, just like milkweed, to help those seeds disperse. But I find that so beautiful, and with the sun hitting it too. Also, we've got, this was in our yard, and it's a leaf of a tropical milkweed plant, very small actually. And I was watching it, and there's this little tiny red spider mite was just running up and down and up and down the leaf. And this helped me remember to look more closely, slow down, and you just don't know what you'll find. So this is like a little flower that was growing on a goldenrod plant on the stems. Now, if you're familiar with goldenrod, the stems, the flowers come up at the top. And I had never noticed this before. And again, one of those things where I'm like, wow, I'm looking more closely. I'm seeing things I never saw. And I just love this little dead flower like thing with all the little curves of the petals. I have a quote for you. Aging has a wonderful beauty, and we should have respect for that. Eartha Kitt said that. I'm sure she was speaking about people, but I think it really applies here also to the things that are dying and fading. They still have their own beauty if you only we only stop and look. So this, I said this was a goldenrod plant. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about goldenrod because it's one of those things that I never used to pay attention to. I would walk right by it. It's abundant. You see it in wildflower gardens. It also grows like between my garage and my neighbor's garage. It's just everywhere. And I ignored it. Excuse me. Part of the reason for that, now I'm old. This was a long time ago. There was a commercial for allergy medication. And they said, they talked about it's ragweed season and you need to buy our medicine, blah, blah, blah. They used a field of goldenrod for this commercial because goldenrod photographs better. It has beautiful yellow flowers, where ragweed has kind of green flowers. Goldenrod got a very bad rap because of this. I thought too, oh my gosh, it's a weed. It's not good. We have to get rid of it. Um, Ragweed is not as colorful. It's non-native, it's wind pollinated, and yes, it causes allergies. Goldenrod, on the other hand, is a native plant. It's pollinated by insects, bees. Bees love it. It does not promote allergies, certainly not to the extent of ragweed, and we should all plant some goldenrod. It's good for so many reasons. When it blooms, and it's one of the things that blooms later in the summer, it has beautiful red flowers. I'm sorry, red, yellow. And this here, it's starting to fade. Right when the asters are starting to grow, it makes a nice, like, wildflower bouquet that you notice when you're out. This was at a local forest preserve and camera club outing. And I love, of course, the goldenrod when it starts to become lovely dead stuff. And the light is hitting the bit of fluff on it. And I just think it's so beautiful. And this is, I'm showing you this just as an example of a plant I used to overlook that when I look more closely, I just love it in every season. So another example, and this is what I promised you to find joy and things that maybe you're overlooking, is simply grass. Okay, this is grass that was overgrown. I just loved the way it looked with the beautiful bokeh behind it, all those bubbles. But that grass that we mow that's under our feet all the time can be so beautiful too. In this image, it's just some grass in the spring with dewdrops. And my focus is on the dewdrops, and that brings the foreground and the background out of focus and makes those dewdrops turn into these lovely bubbles of bokeh. Same thing as fall is approaching with a leaf. And then, of course, when we get frost. The grass and frost, I think, is just so beautiful. So, just another example of something we see every day that when you look more closely, it can be magical. So, speaking of frost and dewdrops, fog, frost, and dewdrops, they can add so much to a landscape like this. This is Lake Catherine at a nature preserve near us, and it was still beautiful because of the fall color, but the fog, I thought, just added so much to this landscape. And of course, it's not just landscapes, but those things that you normally walk by. This again is dog bane, and it's a foggy morning, and these dewdrops are caught on the fluff and the seed. And I just thought that was so beautiful. This is just some Monarda seed heads, and the frost on it just accented it so beautifully. And these are both at the park where I walk the dog with camera in hand. She's very patient with me. Um, this is, of course, a lovely a spider web. And Linda, thanks so much. She chose a beautiful picture she had taken of a spider web to lead into a little promo for my presentation tonight. And that was just perfect and a gorgeous image. This is, of course, a spider web. Again, a little outing, camera club outing with friends. And it was just a beautiful foggy morning, and the spider webs were gorgeous with the dewdrops. So don't overlook those foggy, dewy days. This is a close up again of a spider web, and getting closer also brings a certain magic to it. Another quote: to me, photography is an art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. Elliot Erwitt said that. He was a famous street photographer. He just recently passed away, in fact. But he's talking, for him, it was about street photography, but I think it's applies very well to what I'm talking about tonight, too. Finding something interesting in an ordinary place, like the grass in your lawn. Linda, are there any questions at this time?
No, just nice comments about your photos.
Okay, all right.
And
Um,
I want to say this too, and I sometimes I do it at the beginning, and you guys are already doing it. As she's showing a lot of pretty pictures. If you don't mind, if you comment, just say, maybe in parentheses what photo you're referencing, because the chat will go, and I'll share this with her because as a photographer, it's fun to see what resonates with people, because what you love all of them, right? They're your photos. But a photographer, it's kind of fun to see what other people just grabs their attention. So if you don't mind doing that, please that include that in the chat.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, a little thing I wanted to also add about dewdrops. I do this especially with flowers at home. You can, if it's not raining or there's no dewdrops, like use a little spray bottle, and make your own. It's not cheating. It's okay.
I know somebody in the chat says, when I want to cheat, she brings her own spray bottle. I'm like,
Yes.
that's not really cheating, Karina. It is being creative and
Yes. Yes.
proactive in your photography.
Okay. So even though I do really love the lovely dud crap and things, I think we all need sometimes to go out and buy some flowers. Right now, Trader Joe's has a lot of tulips in addition to their other beautiful bouquets. And they bring so much light and joy into our homes. But they do start to fall apart, and then they become lovely dead flowers. And you might not be surprised to find out I really love it when this happens. I do keep my flowers watered, but when they start to fade, I'm like, yes, because sometimes they get so interesting. So when they begin to fade, they do often keep their color, especially the examples I'm going to show you now are just some tulips. And I honestly just love them when they start to curve and curl and fade away. I love the little glimpse inside too that you get, and you just never know how those petals are going to curve and curl. And I do find I do really find beauty there. Something else I just want to throw out there for fun too is when I'm photographing inside on some dreary days, what I've done just kind of for fun, I've made my own backgrounds with watercolors. And, it's my own little fun way to photograph them a little more, just to have a little more fun with it when I do it. So when things, now this is a calla lily, and it's just a photograph of the tip of it. So even when I do have those flowers, I often do not take a picture of the whole flower. Sometimes I do, but often I just look for the little shapes and curves and curls. When it's finally spring again and I'm taking photos of flowers, I often just focus on a part of the flower. Like I just love the little yellow section and the this part surrounding the center. This is a prairie trillium, and I just love the sunlight hitting these three petals. I mean, and it's a beautiful plant with the three leaves outside of it, but I just love focusing on this part. This is a little daffodil. I have a bunch that grow like this with the two tones. This one's inside, and I just love photographing it from the back. I have it up against a window, and that's a little reflection of it, which I thought added some fun to it. I actually thought she looked sad, wanted to be back outside. One of the things I hadn't paid that much attention to before, I love my ferns. I have a lot of ostrich ferns and some others, but when they are first emerging and it's in that fiddlehead stage, I get so excited and take pictures of it. And then I kind of don't pay that much attention to them. But in 2021, with so much time and in my own backyard, what I found is the beauty I saw when they are continuing to unfurl and have just falling into line like these did. I really grew to appreciate them in all seasons. So I want to just talk for a little bit about Lensbaby lenses. About 98% of the images I just showed you were taken with different Lensbaby lenses. They're unique lenses, and I thought to describe them, I went to the website, and so I am going to read their description because I kind of got a kick out of it. It said, based in Portland, Oregon, Lensbaby has drawn a cult following of those who embrace weirdness and imperfection. Lensbaby is the enemy of perfection, an ally of the unusual, and an advocate for the unique. Our motto is shoot extraordinary, and we hope to help you accomplish that through the uncommon qualities of our photo and video lenses. And of course, I couldn't have said that better. I just did kind of love the part about embracing weirdness and imperfection. I know many people have said this, and I feel it too. Lensbaby's helped me shoot and something that shows how I feel about it just as much as how it looks. Now, I almost can't say the word Lensbaby without bringing up Anne Belmont. And when I'm sharing for people now tonight, I am just sharing their Instagram. But of course, you could just Google Anne and Lensbabies. She talks a lot about emotions and relationships of the things she photographs. And when I find something like that, I can just hear Anne in my head. And in this photograph I'm sharing, when I took it, I thought it looked like this milkweed pod was sheltering the remains of this flower. And I think I called it on Instagram, Shelter from the Storm. But tonight I'm calling it, I also thought it looks like Hats Off to You. And that's what I'm calling it tonight, because hats off to people like Anne Belmont, who share so much about Lensbabies. I first went on an outing with my camera club, a workshop with her, and that was the first time I really got to try a lot of different Lensbabies and just fell in love. Anne has a few books out right now, ebooks, by the way, The Art of Flower Photography, Capturing the Beauty of Flowers with Creativity and Emotion is just a beautiful book. Reading her books is like listening to her speak. You get a sense of calm and peace just from her work. Her first book, Creative Flower Photography, was an illustrated guide to the magic of Lensbaby lenses, and I highly recommend both of them. Another person so well versed in Lensbaby Lenses is Jerry Jones. She posts, every one of her posts is like a miniature photography lesson. She talks so eloquently about how she's photographing things and just has very beautiful work. I'm also mentioning Kathy. Kathy Coleman is here tonight. Kathy, thank you so much. At Kathy Alice Photography, Kathy did an excellent presentation for the Happiness Hour, detailing the different lenses, how they're used, what the effects are. And I highly recommend that you go back in the Happiness Hour. This was in September, and take a look at that if you want to know more about the details of the lenses. So this is, of course, another Lensbaby image. This is the tips of and I think I'm going to say it wrong, but the Garbera daisies. This and Deb, I know you're here tonight. Deb Van Huysen gave me a dahlia, a couple dahlias, and this is just a couple petals of it. That's a dahlia. You wouldn't know that just by looking at it, but I fell in love with the curves and the curls of this. Another Garbera daisy, and another dahlia, just with these beautiful wines. Now, all four of these images were taken with Lensbabies. The first and third here were taken with the Velvet 56. The middle one was taken with the Sweet 50 in the Composer Pro. What's the same also about all of them is they were all taken using a technique called reverse free lens. So again, if you have a, don't ask questions. I shouldn't say that. Please don't ask questions yet about reverse freelancing. I will talk about it a little first and hopefully address some thoughts you might be having. But right now, if you want to, if you could take a minute and put in the chat if you've tried reverse freelancing or heard of it, or other thoughts about it.
Slow typers there. But you know, while they're typing, can I slip in a question?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So this you did say that a lot of the lenses you use are Lensbabies, but do you for flowers, is there a go-to for you? Do you have a favorite?
A
Ooh.
go-to for me for the longest time, I just had the Velvet 56 and the Soul 45. The Velvets are my favorite. I love that that base of sharpness, but with the softness and glow that overlays it. There's just something to me that seems magical about that. I have since now I have actually I have the whole Velvet family now. I have the 28 and the 85 in addition to the 56, and I just love them.
That's because
So those are my go-to, but I also love the soft focus, which of course is pretty similar. And I love playing with the Sweet 50 now too.
so basically you're in their cult.
I
Okay.
am.
Okay. I'm kind of in their cult too.
I
Um,
am.
so there are people that have said that, well, Kathy Alice, y'all know her as Kathy Coleman in the room, but Kathy Alice was says that's one of her favorite techniques. So
Yes.
there's quite a few people that have heard of it. There's a few people that are a little nervous, like Darlene, because of dust. She's like, I'm going to talk
Yes.
about that dust.
Yes. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. Yes. I know. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Let's see. So there's, I think the general consensus, we've heard it. Not very many people have done it. So
Okay.
your job to nudge us into trying it.
Okay. I will do my best.
That's okay.
Okay. So, what is it? How do you do it? And why do you do it? Again, back to Instagram. That's where I first heard about reverse freelancing. And those were my thoughts. It's like, why would I do that? That sounds crazy. So, the what? It's removing the lens from your camera. Okay. It's you take off your lens. Okay. So, here's the free lens part, right? You reverse it, you hold on tight, and you take photographs. That's what it is. Okay. And it's pretty crazy. But so, how do you do it? You use manual focus. you open your shutter wide, you hold the lens in front of your camera very carefully, move back and forth with your focus, and you have fun. Okay, so why would you do this? It turns any lens into a macro lens. Let me tell you, if you're down on the ground, like I was taking pictures of my some little flowers that were coming up, and I'm like, oh man, I want to get closer, but I'm old. I don't want to get back up and go get my filters or whatever. So then I could just take it off, and I've got a macro lens. Okay, so it can be very convenient. Your images are softer. Again, you have a closer focus. You can play with how you have it against your camera and create light leaks, which just adds to kind of the fun and the magic of it. Simply, yes, you can create magic. So these are a few more images taken using reverse free lensing. This is the back of a clematis. I think when I do reverse freelancing, I tend to be more, I think, creative. I look at something differently. It gets me closer. This is one of the first images I took using reverse freelancing. This was with the Sol 45, which gives you a center focus and then a softness that I do really like. This is just a dandelion close to the grass at the dog park or the park with my dog, more flowers, just the tips of them. And then this bee was very patient with me. This is some verbena, and the bees love it. This guy had so much pollen on his legs. He was moving slowly. He would like be climbing around on the flowers, little legs would be kicking because he's trying to pull himself up. He was very patient with me because I was close. But these were all taken with reverse free lensing. Okay, and this too, of course, this was taken with the Sweet 50. So with this, I'm going to talk a little bit. Martha, I don't know if you're here tonight. Martha did a presentation for the Happiness Hour about 2 years ago talking about freelancing. And she went into more detail. She also showed you pictures of how it looks with your camera and things. So I highly recommend going back in Linda's archives for her
I'll,
presentation.
I'll just say it right now because I have it. So Martha's freelance session was number 77. And because we were just talking about
Yes.
Kathy Alice,
Oh, okay.
Kathy was session 168. So
Okay.
yeah, they're all in there. The happiness hour's got a lot of stuff in there.
Yes, it does. It's a great resource. And Kathy, yes, I'm bringing you up again here because when Kathy did that lovely Lensbaby presentation, but if you Google Kathy and you Google reverse freelancing, then you will find the wonderful articles she's written about this subject and give you more tips and ideas for doing it. Regina Boston also does a lot of work with reverse freelancing, has written a lot and done some tutorials that you can find by Googling her also. Regina is also the one that invited me to join a loop in Instagram called the Garden Therapy Loop. A loop is when there's a group that are together and we post on the same day. And a lot of times it used to be we would post at the same time and then we go around and like save and comment each other's work. It's another way to support each other. But if you're interested in seeing more reverse freelance images, then follow our loop. We post on Tuesday nights. So some tips either from these wonderful people and things that I have found too. And Kathy, I think you're the one that mentioned this, practice inside first to avoid getting dust on your sensor. And Kathy, I know you even mentioned turn off your fans, turn off anything like that. And for those of you nervous about getting dust on your sensor, maybe you're only going to reverse freelance inside. Go by a nice window. This was just taken by one of my windows inside. And then you have so much less to worry about. Of course, you shouldn't attempt it on a rainy, snowy, or windy day. I may have done all of those though. You shouldn't. And use caution, but try it. There's something that I have done, and that's only because I was lucky enough to be able to purchase a new camera. So I do have now a full frame mirrorless camera, and you take the lens off and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's that sensor right there. So that's why I still, and it's a way of revisiting an old friend. I do still use my D7500 right now. This is just my reverse free lens camera. It has a mirror, the sensor is smaller, it's a crop sensor, and I just feel like there's much less danger of me making a big mess on and getting the dust on my sensor. I like to do ICM also, which I talk about. And if once you go to bring it into Lightroom or Photoshop, you see all of those, every little speck of dust that's on your sensor. So use caution, try it. Now, are there any questions?
Oh, there's a lot of questions.
Oh, let me address one thing that might have popped up. I only do this with manual lenses, with my Lensbabies. I have read you can do it with a traditional lens, but when you're doing it, you want to open your sensor, or I'm sorry, open your aperture up more. And with a manual lens, it's going to stay wherever you put it. With a traditional lens, I think there's something people do with a rubber band to hold that aperture open, but that I really don't know about. But yes, so questions, please.
Okay, I think, and I'm sorry, I kind of blinked and my brain stopped. I'm not good at this whole moderating thing. So,
Yes,
Gail,
you are.
did you see the question from Gail? Did you know? She said, did not know they had a term for this now. Have had reversing rings for many years ago during her slide days. It was all manual, auto, nothing. Do the new cameras have auto ability?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can answer that. So, how about you, Chris?
No, I don't think I really don't know. I'm sorry.
Anybody in the room that knows, use that chat. So Sharon's question is, can you see to focus that the lens isn't connected? For
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, you can see through it. You know, when I first started, I'm like, how does this even work? But you see through the lens, even though it's not connected, you see what you're doing. Isn't that crazy?
I did it once and it got scared and put it back on. Okay, so Karina's question is, she doesn't have a Lensbaby, but I do have a 100 millimeter macro. If I reverse free lens it, or I'm sorry, if I reverse free lens, will it give a soft bokeh effect?
That I'm not sure because I don't have experience doing that. I don't know. Kathy Coleman, do you have experience with a
Yeah,
traditional lens?
stick that in the chat, Kathy, if you do.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. I think okay, so let's go ahead and that was all the questions. I'm holding one back and I'll wait till the end.
Okay. All right. Okay. So during my 365, then what I did is I tried to explore other ways, of course, of photographing things. I wanted things to be, I was interested in trying new things. So, one of the things I tried, again, influenced by Instagram and being invited to a loop, is working in black and white. I hadn't done that for decades, with a film camera. And this journey led me to try different things. When you're working in black and white, you focus naturally more on textures, lines, shapes, shadows, and light. Sometimes, and I take all these in color and then I convert them to black and white. But when I took this image, this is a leaf of a plant growing in the Chicago Botanic Garden on one of the inside gardens. And as I took it, I thought, oh, this is going to be a wonderful black and white image with the lines and the textures and the light and the shadow. This is a more recent image. This is a lovely dead sunflower. It's not very colorful anymore. And converting it to black and white, it really, to me, made the little dewdrops stand out more. And the little, I know they're not really hairs, but little like hairs on the leaves, I thought just stood out beautifully in black and white. On gray days, they just kind of lend themselves to conversion to black and white. This is just a reflection of some trees in a lake. And They honestly didn't look much different that day with the gray skies. I find that it makes me converting something to black and white, or it just makes me have more attention to detail. My sister Elaine, who's here tonight, this is a light that was, she had lights strung along her fence outside, and this one had condensation inside. It was beautiful blue, but I just loved it in black and white. It really made me pay more attention to the patterns of the water drops. This is again the park with my dog and the sunlight and the beautiful bit of frost. I thought stood out more in black and white even than in color. This is just a hosta leaf in my yard with these water drops clinging to the edges and the side. And I just love the lines of the hosta with the beauty of the little water drops hanging on. This, of course, is a coneflower, beautiful in color, but in black and white, I find myself so drawn to this, the curves and curls and patterns, the beautiful patterns we see in nature when we stop and look. It's just amazing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about abstracts, and I'm going to read quickly a definition for you from Britannica. It's relating to or involving general ideas or qualities rather than specific people, objects, or actions. It's in their definition more pertaining to art is expressing ideas and emotions by using elements such as colors and lines without attempting to create a realistic picture. Abstracts and ICM I find are very freeing. You can be so creative. Just for a minute here, can anybody tell me what this might actually be a photo of?
I'm so bad at this game. Anybody? Okay, somebody, Janet saying a car.
Okay.
What? Let's see. Anybody else? If Janet's right, I'm really going to be like, amazed. So there's a puddle, waves. I'm hoping it's a car, Janet, but I'm still like, are we looking at the same thing? Yeah. So those are the guesses that jump.
All right. Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, somebody's got a flashing light. So okay, we'll stop there. Oh, Janet says you can see the tail lights. Janet,
Janet, you are correct. This is a car. This is out at the forest preserves. It's on a corner. This is water. This is lovely dead plants. There's a road here and then a hill and plants beyond. But this red car was going, and I've never really tried to do ICM with a moving object. And I just loved the way the colors of the car kind of dragged behind it, doing that. So it was fun to do. And yep, it's a red car. I want to thank whoever that person was. It was just perfect timing. The author Melissa Brown says, in every landscape should reside jewels of abstract art waiting to be discovered. I thought that was just so cool. And that's true. You look closer and closer and change it up. Okay, use some abstract. I'm going to talk about ICM, which is abstract photography, and I want to take a minute to mention Stephanie Johnson. Her work is amazing. She only shoots ICM, which is intentional camera movement, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. She's going to be a presenter at Out of Chicago Live, but what they're doing leading up to the conference is there is a free tutorial kind of and challenge every Tuesday. And just yesterday, she did a beautiful presentation for Out of Chicago Live. You can also Google her and Out of Chicago Live. It's available to watch, and she shows her beautiful work and talks about the process too. She's just fantastic. She also started a magazine about ICM and just an expert. And I want to mention one of the experts that has presented on the happiness hour, Beth Bulow. She recently did a wonderful presentation about abstracts, abstract photography, and before that she did one really explaining intentional camera movement very, very well. So two people to look for and learn from, and more happiness hour archives to dive into also. So intentional camera movement is literally you have your camera, you set your shutter speed very low. Stephanie was recommending yesterday, she uses about a half a second. It depends, of course, too, on the light that's available on your subject. This is our beautiful Lake Michigan. I had my camera on a slow shutter speed and it's just for this one, it was just a horizontal movement, maybe for half a second or a second. When you do this, you shoot a lot, and you're going to find that you look back on your camera, you're like, oh my gosh, this is nothing, this is awful. Don't delete it until you put it on the computer and look at it, play with the contrast, play with the vibrance, play with the light, the exposure, and you'll find you did better than you thought. You're going to delete a lot more than you keep, but you'll find some treasures. This is another ICM, and it was getting dark out. And so that's for me, I love to do that when ICM, when it's getting dark, because you have your shutter, or I'm sorry, your shutter speed is so slow, you're letting in so much light. This was done with a kind of movement like this with the camera. And I just loved the way it turned out. Horizontal and vertical movements are usually what so many people do and how you start. This was one of the first ICMs I was really happy with. This was in the Smoky Mountains, just moving my camera up. It doesn't have to be nature things either or all the time. This is just two vases I had, and I tried a little ICM with that too. So it's one of my favorite techniques now. I find myself being more and more drawn to more abstract work, and it's just so much fun. So this is a multiple in camera exposure. Again, moving around a little bit. It's just a path with leaves and another wonderful outing with Camera Club friends. This is the same path, the same group of leaves, a general area, also a multiple exposure, but I didn't really move the camera much. And I ended up just loving how it turned out. And I'm just going to take a brief moment to speak about loving what you do. I sometimes too get caught up in, oh, are other people going to like that? Should I post it? If it hits you, if it gives you joy, if it makes you feel good, own it. and if other people don't like it, that's okay. That's okay. But make sure you love what you're doing. That's the important part. And getting back to that joy, that's where the joy can come in too. Abstracts doesn't have to mean ICM or multiple exposures. This was simply, I just focused on the webs, the dew on the webs here, and that threw everything else out of focus and gave me this lovely abstract bubbly bokeh. This, I didn't move the camera at all. This is reflections in a river of the nearby trees and their beautiful leaves. And I was just focusing on the reflections in the water were so much more beautiful to me than the woods that were surrounding the area. So more abstracts, more in camera. And I just want to take a moment now, a shout out to the Happiness Hours, Valerie Hoffman. Valerie, I watched your presentation before I went with friends to the Brookfield Zoo for their magic lights time. And I just want to thank you so much for your presentation. It was so inspiring. So this is the lights on a tree. I took this with a Lensbaby soft focus. It's in a Composer Pro system. You can move it around, have a lot of fun with it. But where did I get all those stars from? The soft focus lens came with this neat little thing with all these discs in it. Okay. And the disc, you can see it, that I used for this it's an aperture disc. It goes right inside, and you aim it at the lights and it turns them into these lovely, fun stars. We had a lot of fun. This is just a little more icy. I'm moving the camera. This was a light display of a tree. This was another aperture disc a friend lent to me that made it look like these flowers. And this is some trees in the distance that were white, and this is a more colorful one. Now, all of these were done in camera, but I also, thanks to Fran, I think you're here tonight, and other photography friends, Barbara and Karen, they led me to try this. This was in Photoshop. It's using polar coordinates. It's a square from this image, and you do this, and all this bit of abstract craziness occurs, and it's so much fun to do. So this is the first three. Like I said, we're all in camera, and this is playing in Photoshop, which really opens a whole nother way to find beauty and to find joy. So it's so much fun to play. Now, when we think of play, you usually think about children, think about them running and playing and laughing. They're joyful, they're having fun, they're finding beauty in the moment. And I think as adults, we get away from that. And whether you're taking pictures or not, take some time to play, to have fun. Our grandchildren live all over the country, but I had bought a bubble machine for when they came in to visit. Well, I played with it too. So that's simply what this is, a picture of bubbles from the bubble machine in front of, I think that was the phlox were in bloom. There's other ways to play too. When it's cold out, and even in Texas, you could have tried this. It sounded like if it's below 20, you make a mixture. And again, Google that. There's a few different recipes, but you make soap bubbles, and I find it's easiest if I have like a glass or something and put the soap in it, and then you take a straw and you blow, and the bubbles form and they freeze really fast, and you get these beautiful designs when that happens. Another way to play is to kind of create a scene. So last February, I wanted something fun to post on Valentine's Day. So we had this little toy car, and I bought those conversation hearts, and it wasn't snowing. So this is a sidewalk in the backyard. I took some branches off of our pine tree and stuck them in the grass so it looks like the car is driving down a road with forest. And then my husband is dropping dried mashed potato flakes. That's our snow. And this was fun. This is joyful. This is playing. So another thing I did, again with a group of photography friends too, is play with frozen flowers. These were just frozen in an ice cube tray. Now, I almost can't mention soap bubbles without, if you don't already follow Melissa at Scotty, and I know Kathy referred to her in her presentation too. She is the cold weather queen, the ice bubble queen. You'll see Northern Lights. She's so very creative. Also, the flowers. Kathleen Clemens, I'm sure most of you are aware of her beautiful flower photography. And recently she's been doing amazing work with frozen flowers too. And she also has a tutorial online that you can find if you're interested in doing that too. So a 365 project. Was it worth it? I am glad I did it. Some days, I complained, I whined. But the days I least wanted to get out with my camera, get outside, are the days I needed to the most. Maybe I was crabby or I was too busy, but I'd go out and just be like, and it would give me that joy. So being outside with my camera in nature, that is my therapy. That is my joy. And I know that's different for everyone, but I encourage you to find those quiet moments, find the things that give you joy, and do them every day. Do something for yourself. 2021, I probably had my growth as a photographer. I tried different things, met different people, and really had fun. It also helped me discover the hidden beauty that was literally in my own backyard if I just stopped and looked at it. Now I know a 365 isn't for everyone, and even photography, of course, is not for everyone. But tonight, what I hope is that I inspired you to look more closely and to find joy in the world around you, wherever you live. Finding joy, it can be so elusive, and sometimes I think we do need to work at it. It could be just a simple moment like like this, excuse me. Like I was just went out chasing fall. Most of the trees were bare, but there were still a few hanging on, some yellow reflected in the water, and then the wind would blow and the leaves would drop. And it was just joyful and so peaceful to watch and beautiful too. Joy can be as simple as a smile. Maybe someone gives you a smile or you smile at someone who's having a bad day and you can turn their day around. It can just be noticing a bird in your backyard or like this, like a falling leaf. So tonight, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Linda, thanks for having me. It's just been a thrill. I hope for each of you, my wish for you is that you find a little joy and a little bit of beauty in the world around you, wherever you live, each and every day. And thank you.
Wow. Take your screen down. And,
Okay.
and I'm going to get on to
I
you.
stop sharing.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, that way
Okay.
we can see your face up close and personal, and I can
A
say,
red face.
yeah, you have no reason to have a red face. So I first of all, I found beauty in the photographs you shared. I follow you on Instagram. I've I spent a lot of time on your website, so I knew what I was going to see. I didn't know which pictures, but I knew the quality and the level of work that you were putting out, and this was joyful to sit through, and there was so many beautiful pictures, such consistent work, and to hear the stories behind it and the little, I don't know, tidbits of inspiration. It was such a beautiful presentation.
Oh, Linda, thank you so much.
Shame
Thank
on
you.
out of Chicago for only giving you 7 minutes, because I remember, and I think I might have told you this, when they give the speaker 7 minutes, it's just full, powerful. Uh, I mean, y'all throw in everything you can in 7 minutes, and it's just like it's over. And I'm like, well, I'm not done with her. And so you made it to my little post-it note of like, I'm just going to ask, and I'm so um just thrilled that you said yes and didn't turn me down. And I knew that you had something wonderful to share with this group. And I have to say this, there's a friend in here, her name's Susan Nell, and we talk about presentations just about every week we talk about the presentation. And she says about the people that come in this room, they are just fantastic. We're all supportive. We all, maybe it's not your type of photography, but you walk away learning something and maybe trying something different. And if everybody in this room doesn't walk away with some little thing of like, I'm going to try this, or wow, why didn't I think of that? You need to rewatch this. Just let through
Thank
it.
you so
This,
much.
this is wonderful. All right, I do have a few questions I want to sneak in before I let
Okay.
you go, because I'm really good at forgetting things. All right. Susan Hansen is asking, how do you do multiple exposures in cameras? I think I know the answer, but I'll see if you know the answer.
Okay, it is, you go to the back of your camera to menu, and then you can find it there when you're working under camera and you go to multiple exposure. I know not all cameras have it, but then you can choose the mode. You can choose the overlay mode, which I didn't even get into because I barely understand it. But you can say how many images you want to take. And it was on my crop sensor, my D7500. I have both of mine are Nikons, and it's also, of course, on the newer camera too.
I was going to say I'm familiar. I'm glad you answered that because I shoot Nikon. I know nothing about the Canon system. Valerie Hoffman is in this room. She is the queen of you got to try Olympus. So she'll probably write it. I know it's got it in there because I think I've been with her when she's played with it. Um, I want to thank you. Okay, well, let me get the other question out. All right.
Okay.
Um, all right, Janet, the woman that saw the tail lights. I feel like you should get a prize because
That was good.
I'm still looking at that picture, going, I still don't get it. Okay, she says, "Do you use Lensbaby with ICM photos?"
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. The majority of my ICM I do with my though my Nikon 70 to 300, usually especially if I'm out in the woods, I'm always hoping to see some kind of wildlife, so I might have that on. So I do use that quite a bit too, but I've also done it. My background picture right now, the that's using an overlay. That's something I'm playing with this year, but the background picture was done with the Velvet 85. So I do use it. The thing is, a lot of times they might not stop down. You want your aperture really small, and they don't stop down as much as some other lenses. So that's the disadvantage. Great on a cloudy day, though.
I'm going to sneak this in. Darlene typed it way at the beginning, and I thought it was more general, but she says, I find myself taking more pictures with my iPhone than with my camera this winter. She wants to know, do you use a phone as well as your big camera, as well as your.
I I do know I have an Android, and my newer Android, I was like thrilled to see portrait mode in it, and I use it a lot. Actually, when I'm with the grandkids, it's an easier way to capture them sometimes, a quicker way. But okay, and this is a topic for a whole nother discussion, but aren't phones getting almost, the cameras are almost disappointingly amazing when you put all this money into your other cameras and you can do it with your phone. I haven't done that much with my phone, and I know just that presentation with Stephanie Johnson yesterday, she does talk a lot about using your iPhone or using your Android for ICM work too and things like that. So but right now, not that much with my phone. But it's nice to know you have such a good camera with you all the time, too.
Right. So a couple of thoughts that I had was one, you have the most patient dog ever.
Yes and no. We have discussions. I'm like, I let you sniff over there. You can let me take a picture here. And she'll just sit. But yeah, she's used to it.
Chris, this was a great presentation. And there was a comment here, and I can't remember who said it, but I'm going to say it in my own words. Um, you credited so many people that inspired you. That is such a so refreshing to see because a lot of people just kind of like throw it out there, but I really appreciate that you took the time to credit people so that we can find new people to follow or
Oh,
check
yes.
work.
Yes.
And because they're working at their craft and they're working hard at their craft. I sat here through all of them. I'm like, I know her, I know her, I know her, I know her. And it was really, really cool. And then it was, oh, that person's already done a presentation. The happiness hour, you just did the plug for me. I don't have to plug
I
it.
did.
Yeah,
But
I
there's so much to learn from
I know, right?
everybody.
Yeah, and there are a couple of people in this room that you mentioned. Kathy Alice Coleman. Is it Coleman or Coleman? I'm not sure, but she is a Lensbaby ambassador. She's done a
Yes.
presentation for us. She's somebody I'd never met, but she came and did a presentation. It was lovely, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna give her a shout out, Valerie Hoffman, because Valerie Hoffman is somebody that I met. This is how full circle our lives are. I met her in Chicago. We were both going to the Out of Chicago Botanic Garden um, conference. It was the first one they did. I think it was the first one they did there. And she sent out a message to everybody saying, "Hey, I'm Valerie. I'm going to be there early if anybody wants to play." The girl got crickets, and I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be there early." So I reached out and said, "Hey, I am too." I spent an entire day with that woman. And I learned so much from her. watched her work, watched her teach me because I was relatively new to macro photography, and floral photography, the whole thing. And I just really learned a lot from her. And because I'm I'm who I am, when I find people that can do stuff for me, I make them do more stuff for me. Valerie does not know how to say no to me. And don't start, Valerie, but she has done so many presentations for the Happiness Hour because the woman can speak on different topics. And so, thank you for shouting out to a lot of the people that have already done presentations for me, for this group. And thank you for being one of them. And I don't know how I'm going to do it or what the topic's going to be, but I'm going to get you to come back. So,
I
don't
would
say
love to.
no. Oh,
I would
really?
love to.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. See, people, that's how easy it is. But I'm going to talk to you about coming back because it's not, I haven't said this in a while. The Happiness Hour was a name that we couldn't come up with even better. It's kind of stuck. But this is really, I'll be honest, this is really Linda's selfish hour. I so much out of these. This is how I spend my Wednesdays. I have missed very few Wednesdays since April 1st, 2020, when we've kicked off the first Happiness Hour. I probably, with excluding holidays, I can count on two hands how many we've missed. And it, people that have presented, people that come every week, they've become my friends, my Instagram friends that, I've never met you in person, but the next time I'm in Chicago, I'm certainly going to reach out. So don't say no, don't block
Yep.
me. But I thank you so much for coming and spending a really chilly Wednesday night with us and sharing what you know and sharing your joy and giving us a peek into what you're doing when no one's watching. All right, everybody. I'm going to link Chris's contact, and her website, her social in the show notes to this video so that you can reach out to her after this goes on air, which will hit YouTube Friday night if you want to rewatch it. But next week, um, macro photographer Jose Madrigal will be here to present Macro on the Wing. Until next time, go out and create something beautiful. And I hope that we see you again soon.